A lot has changed since my last Rose Dragon deck profile, and I straight up believe that I now have found the best way to play Rose Dragons. Like, straight up no competition at all. With this deck you will never lose another round of Kitchen Table Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever again, and you can beat up to 4 hand traps if they are exactly 3 Ash Blossoms and maybe 1 Nibiru. On a serious note, I really do believe that this deck has a lot of potential, and new ratios, completely new and spicy combos, a new way to play the deck in general, all of that in today's video. So here's the list, and if you have seen my previous Black Rose Dragon deck profile, you will immediately notice that a lot has changed right here. First of all, I have cut the Denglong counter trap and Denglong in the extra deck. I still do believe it's really important to have a backup plan for if your opponent has board breakers. I never really liked those Black Rose variants that only vomit like endless amount of negates onto the board and then their whole combo falls to 1 Dark Ruler. I do not believe it's good. I do not believe you will see success with a strategy like that. So I wanted to have something to fight against that. And yes, I do not have a counter trap right now in the deck or any sort of back row interruption besides maybe if you count that the Black Rose Garden Floodgate, but I have another strategy that really helps against board breaker. But more of that of course in the combos. First of all, 40 cards, clean 15 hand traps or non-engine, whatever you want to play. I would advise you to play hand traps for the reason you will see in the combos, but it's a lot, especially for a combo deck like Rose Dragons. A playset of Diabellstar, it's insane. The Azamina engine is just necessary. If you have at least a brain over the size of a peanut, so you don't play Runic Stun or stuff like that, you will immediately realize, okay, that it doesn't play without Azamina. It beats Nibiru. It beats like 3 hand traps at once if you open Diabellstar and one of the dragons. And more importantly, without having to draw into a level 3 hand trap, I have found a way, a combo, that 1 Diabellstar, also without sacrificing your normal summon, can bridge into the Rose Dragon engine. So it's basically kinda a 1-card combo. What else do you want? It's broken, it's insane, it's kinda as the Master Duel meta currently, so why wouldn't you play that? White Rose Dragon, like it's basically the same extender as Vengeful Witch, but there are some cards in the deck because Akiza couldn't decide if she wants dragons or plants, so she just took both. There are some cards in the deck that can't search Vengeful Witch or White Rose Dragon, and you have to basically compensate that in just playing both. They are basically the same, they special summon themselves, and White Rose Dragon mills Vengeful Witch, and Vengeful Witch in the graveyard has a good effect. So basically a playset of the extenders. Fuwalos is the best Mulchami by far, by a mile. A playset of Works Rose Dragon. Please do not listen to anyone telling you to cut that card, it's literally insane. It's a 1-card combo, it's a good extender, it has a good grind game effect that a lot of people forget about. It's very, very good. Red Rose Dragon, the cousin of Rocks Rose Dragon that was in prison for a long time, only allowed at 1 copy, but now it's back at 3, and luckily we Rose Dragon enjoyers can enjoy that, since it's one of the best 2-card combos that the deck has to offer. If you draw Diabellstar and Red Rose Dragon, things are going crazy. Every family has to have the Black Sheep, and in this case it's Twilight Rose Black Knight. You do not want to draw him. If you draw this dude, do everything in your power to have him in the graveyard. Send him with Diabellstar, discard him with Vengeful Witch. If you draw him, bro, your combos are dookie. Ash Blossom as a defensive tool against Fuwalos and the K9 engine. And if you draw into it, it's also very, very good against Dracotail. It's kind of the same as Ghostbell, just that Ghostbell can't stop Fuwalos, but Ghostbell can stop basically the Dracotail traps, it can stop K9, it can stop Lupus. It's very, very good to have in your hand to protect your plays, but also as an interruption against Mitsurugi, against Yami, against basically all of the decks in the current meta. That card is really, really good. I really like Ghostbell and Ash together, it feels very nice. 1 LZ, and yes, I have read a lot of comments. Can't we play Impulse? Yes, we could play Impulse. The problem with Impulse is that we then can't play LZ, we can't play Dragstar, we can't play Crystal Wing. Like, I don't think it's worth it. Maybe in the future, if the deck gets a good support wave that maybe allows us to cut like those extra pieces, LZ, the Azamina engine, Crystal Wing, maybe then I can see a world where we play Impulse, but currently I would advise against that, because then you also wouldn't be able to play Glow Up Bulb, and do you want to make that eye cry? Yeah, I figured. 1 Hallowed Azamina Fusion, 1 Basil Rose Shoot. It's basically an extender. If you activate it, you can special summon a Rose Dragon from your hand or graveyard, and yes, that can include those big dragons. It's just there in case you already hard drawn Black Rose Garden, so you have another search target with Rox Rose Dragon. It's a really good card, a playset of Wanted because it's basically Diabellstar plus Upstart Goblin. Black Rose Garden, an underrated card that floodgates everything on the field into plants. It adds your combo extender. It's very, very good. The downside of the card is, but at the same time it's an upside, that you can get cards from the graveyard, which means that if the opponent has Go Spell, it actually negates the activation, which means Black Rose Garden will get sent to the graveyard. It's a bit tough sometimes, but on the other hand, in the grind game, if you have Rox Rose and White Rose in the graveyard, and you normally summon Rox Rose, you add Black Rose Garden, add back White Rose Dragon, you see the stone gets rolling again. It's very, very good, so I take it, the downside. 1 Deception, I do not play a playset of that, since the deck inherently needs you to discard a few cards. You have Diabellstar, you have Vengeful Witch, that's 2. And if you want to use a 2-card combo, that's 1 less card in hand on top of that. So if you start with Deception, it just feels so weak, specifically in this deck. So I have made the decision to cut that down, and so far no problems at all. It runs great, I win a lot of games, it's fine. 1 Black Garden. I know a lot of you guys hate that card. I really do like that. I literally have replays where I bully people with that card. Like, Sky Striker is basically GG, Yummy is GG, Branded is GG, Drake Hotel has a lot of problems with that card. But on top of that being an interruption against certain meta decks, I have found ways to utilize that in the combos. A playset of Imperm, because Nip and Imperm, if you play a lot of hand traps, they just make sense. 1 Crossroads Dragon, I really like the card. During the time where Black Rose was basically unplayable, this was the only card, when I read it, that gave me a slimmer of hope that there might be something in the card pool that would make Rose Dragons playable. That was never the case though. 2 Garden Rose Maiden, 1 to summon and the other one basically to send via Rage Rose Witch, and 1 TG Hyper Librarian, because how do you beat bot breakers? Beating bot breakers isn't some art, it's not some hidden mystery you need to solve first. No, it's very simple actually. Like, just have more interruptions layered onto your game state than onto your board. A back row counter trap, graveyard interruptions, hand interactions, and we surprisingly play a lot of those. Which means 15 to be exact. If we play TG Hyper Librarian and we get him to draw us a few cards, it can snowball into having 2 or 3 hand traps in hand. So far it feels a lot better, a lot cleaner than Denglong, because the funny thing about the counter trap is that you can never make Denglong before you activate Glow Up Bulb. And Glow Up Bulb says you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. So imagine that scenario. You wake up in the morning, it's sunny outside, you are happy. You know, you are happy. Then you go to your PC, you start Dueling Book, and you want to combo with Rose Dragons, and you activate Glow Up Bulb. Your day was happy, your day was beautiful, until you see that you actually sent to the graveyard the counter trap you were supposed to search with Glow Up Bulb and White Rose Dragons. Yeah, that happened a few too many times. So I decided to cut it, which also betters the card quality overall in the deck, since we do not have to play another trap. So in short, TG Hyper Librarian is here to basically better our defense against Board Breaker, because we just gain a lot of card advantage and hand traps into our hand. 1 Rage Rose Witch, it's very unnecessary to play more than 1, like what do you even want to send after you resolved the first one? If you summoned Rage Rose Witch, you activated her effect, brother, you do not have anything left. And she comes back every turn anyways, because if something is destroyed on the field, she just reborns herself, so 1 is plenty. 1 Dragster, before that was the Moonlight Dragon, but I have faced 1 too many Sky Strikers and Mitsurugis. In my opinion, currently, Dragster is straight up, to be honest, just the better card. 2 Bramble Rose Dragon and 1 Black Rose Dragon, you need to at least play 2. I have seen lists with 1, which is crazy insane. You have to play at least 2. I could even see an argument for playing like more, but if you play a 3rd Bramble Rose, it gets weird, because it also means that you in theory have to play a 2nd Black Rose Dragon, because you summon 1, you mill 1, and what are you doing with the 3rd one? I mean, you already summoned Black Rose, so if you get that to the field, you can't even use its effect, you know? So 2 and 1 so far works fine. Maybe in the future I will find some utility for playing more than 2. So far no. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. You might as well rename that into Crystal Wing Rose Dragon, because that card is an MVP. And I will not elaborate on that. Now we have the Crocodile. There are some niche lines where you need to have a level 9, very niche. And it's just the best one. I know that there is this virtual world shifter card. The problem with that shifter card is that it isn't actually a shifter card, since it only sends cards from the field to the graveyard. So if you play against, for example, Dracotail, they will just steamroll your board, alright? So in those niche scenarios, that card is way better. It lets you draw another card, which again, with a lot of hand traps, it's broken. And it's, if you need it to be, it's an interruption. But if I'm being completely honest with you, it's probably the only flex spot you have in the extra deck. So if you think you have found a better card, a better variant of the extra deck, just change it up. But so far, I would at least advise you to try that card. 1 Genix Return 0, bro, you have to play that card. In theory, you can play whatever level 10 you want, but having the ability to have that in rotation in combination with maybe a Thrown Ghost Bell, a Roxrose in the graveyard, and a Z, it's like, it adds up. Though this card, on its own, it has such a big biceps that it can solo most games alone. You just need a little bit of graveyard setup for that. 1 Magistus Chorozo, and oh boy, just wait. Azamina Omninegate, Azamina Searcher that I cannot pronounce, so I won't even try that. First of all, I want to show you the new Diabellstar combo. Before that, if you only have Diabellstar in hand, it was needed that you draw another level 3 hand trap and you have to normal summon that hand trap, so it was very, very bad. Yes, it was a way to bridge into your Rose Dragon engine, but you would rather not. But the other option was to literally just Sylvia pass. There has to be another way, right? And luckily you have me, because I have found a way. Diabellstar, pitch any random card in your hand, Diabellstar effect, set Deception. Deception tributing another card in hand to add Hallowed Azamina. Hallowed Azamina effect to summon, I will not pronounce that, effect of the card I will not name, to add LZ. And now you actually use both the Searcher and Black Witch to go into Magistus Chorozo per Contact Fusion. And if you look at that, our little cute boy cat slash dog slash squirrel slash I don't even know Eve from Pokemon is a tuner, which pairs perfectly with LZ. LZ effect to special summon herself, and now you can actually immediately go into Rage Rose Witch, and that is just insane. Chainlink 1 Rage Rose Witch, Chainlink 2 LZ, and with Rage Rose Witch, since we do not have a Rose Dragon in rotation sadly, you have to mill Bramble Rose Dragon and Vengeful Witch. Which effect discarding the wanted, I mean we would rather want that in the graveyard anyways, so it's fine, to summon Black Knight. Black Knight effect to reborn the Vengeful Witch. So now, we haven't normal summoned at all, and a lot of cards in that spot, if we have as a normal summon, will help us tremendously. So the reasoning behind that combo isn't necessarily to make the best end board no one can beat with just 1 Diabellstar, it's to have the ability to draw into your normal summon. I will always draw Nibiru in that case because my deck isn't randomized, but you have Black Garden, you have another Vengeful Witch, you have White Rose Dragon even in that case, Roxrose, Red Rose Dragon, a lot of cards that in that case, if you draw into them, you just win. But even if you do not do that, you still have a lot of cards in hand, and if you really bricked that hard that you didn't see any of your Rose Dragon cards, those cards in your hand, they have to be hand traps. Just a disclaimer, if you happened to draw another Sinful Spoils card, you can actually, before you go into Rage Rose Witch, after using the Contact Fusion, you can go Hallowed Azamina, shuffling back the Searcher, to then go into Sylvia. You can't do that now. You can't go into Sylvia, since Rage Rose Witch and Vengeful Witch, they both lock you into Synchro Summoning. Now you use both Black Knight and Witch to go into Bramble Rose Dragon, and after you have gone into that card, you will use Bramble Rose Dragon in the graveyard to reborn Black Rose Knight, and with Black Rose Knight, you reduce the level of the Witch by 1 to then go into Crystal Wing Rose Dragon, which produces a pretty solid board, especially considering that you pair that with a few hand traps. A monster negate in form of Crystal Wing, which also can't be run over. A board wipe, which do not underestimate that card. I have literally replays where if the opponent doesn't have an immediate answer to that card on its own can also solo whole decks. But on top of each other, if you negate, for example, let's just say the opponent normal summons, God forbid, Dormouse and activate the Dormouse's effect, you can negate that with Crystal Wing, and then Rage Rose Witch in the graveyard will trigger to special summon itself. So you also have a little bit of more defense, grind game, and guaranteed grind game, because if you activate Black Rose Dragon to go into their OG Black Rose Dragon, you activate its effect. You can actually, in the following turn, activate the Bramble Rose in the graveyard to reborn the Black Knight to then go into Vengeful Witch again. So you have a little level 7 grind game. All of that by just opening up one Diabellstar, the Black Witch. In my opinion, it's very, very good. And now I will show you the new 2-card combo that doesn't involve the Denglong. Always start with Diabellstar, because if they interact with that, haha, GG, set Deception, Deception activate, effect Deception, sending Diabellstar, adding Harlot Azamina. Harlot Azamina effect to summon the unpronounceable Azamina monster. Effect unpronounceable monster to add LZ. And now you go LZ effect to special summon itself. And then you go normal summon Red Rose Dragon, summon number 4. Okay, chill out. Delete the comment you were about to make. That combo beats Nibiru. We use both Red Rose Dragon and LZ to go into Garden Rose Maiden. Garden Rose Maiden, chaining 1, chaining 2 Red Rose, chaining 3 LZ to add Sinful Spoils Wanted. And with Red Rose Dragon, you of course summon Rox Rose Dragon. Rox Rose Dragon effect adding the Black Rose Garden. Black Rose Garden effect adding, of course, the good old White Rose Dragon. Actually, do not do that, because if you do that, as I did right now, you can't go into Crossroads anymore. So, yeah. Lesson learned. Instead, you activate the normal Black Garden, and then you go, before you activate Black Garden, very important, I don't know who even makes that mistake, like, has to be a very bad player in order to do that. You link away Rox Rose Dragon and, I almost tried to pronounce that. Good try, Konami. To link into Crossroads Dragon, and then Black Garden mandatory will trigger to put a token onto your opponent's board. Now Harlot Azamina in the graveyard effect, shuffling back the Searcher to add it back to the hand. And thanks to LZ giving you another Wanted into the hand, you can activate Harlot Azamina, chain Wanted to deck thin a little bit, and get an Upstart Goblin plus an Omni Negate onto the board. It's very, very crazy good. This combo beats Nip, because if the opponent would have nipped a step before that, yes, Garden Rose Maiden is in the graveyard, yes, Crossroads Dragon is in the graveyard, which has a graveyard effect, by the way, do not forget that. But since Garden Rose Maiden is in the graveyard, you can actually use its graveyard effect to then reborn any Rose Dragon. And since you have Black Rose Garden already in hand, having the ability to go Garden Rose Maiden, reborn any Rose Dragon, and with Black Rose Garden adding White Rose Dragon, you can full combo through Nibiru. If they do not nip you right here, happy birthday, because then you have beat Nip successfully by having Sylvia on your board. And then you activate Crossroads Dragon, tributing Garden Rose Maiden and itself to go into Rage Rose Witch. Rage Rose Witch effect, milling basically Bramble Rose Dragon and Glow Up Bulb. I almost made a second mistake, okay? The deck is difficult, I'm telling you that straight up. This deck is difficult, you will lose a lot, you will misplay a lot, you will mishandle your cards in your hand a lot, because suddenly you do not have a discard anymore if you are not careful enough. It's a difficult deck, there are a lot of lines, so seeing that will show you that it's only natural that you will make and do mistakes, alright? So just learn from that, keep your chin up, or your chins, depending on your weight class, I don't even know. And just try and try and try. You will get good eventually with the deck if you have problems right now. But in the 2-card combo, you actually never send Vengeful Witch. Instead, you send Bramble Rose and Glow Up Bulb. After that, you activate Black Rose Garden to add White Rose Dragon. And the reason for you to not add Vengeful Witch is that in the next step, she will be in the graveyard anyways, alright? So it's no big deal. Now you activate Glow Up Bulb, sending the card from your deck to the graveyard to then special summon itself. After that, you activate White Rose Dragon, and with both White Rose Dragon and Glow Up Bulb, you now go into Hyper Librarian, which will give us basically a Pot of Greed, maybe Graceful Charity if you count the opponent's draw also into that. Or rather set the draw during your opponent's turn. Just another advice I want to give you, never use any draw spell, which is basically only wanted, until you see that damn black sheep of the family on your board, which is Twilight Rose Black Knight. Because if you go wanted draw right now, you will have a lot of pain. And I accidentally right-clicked on White Rose Dragon's graveyard effect, which meant I had to redo the combo another time. Simulators are just great. But yeah, if White Rose Dragon is sent as synchro material to the graveyard, you can activate its effect to then pitch Vengeful Witch, and you really have to do that, alright? Do not right click in real life, please. Vengeful Witch effect, discarding any card to summon Twilight Rose Black Knight. Black Knight effect to reborn the witch onto the board. And since the bad draw is on your board right now, you can, without having fear, just draw your one card with Wanted. Then you do use both of them to go into Bramble Rose Dragon. They are both mandatory, so you can decide what is first, but in this specific moment, if you already reached that point, it doesn't really matter. Just draw your cards, your opponent will have no hand trap. Bramble Rose Dragon to reborn Glow Up Bulb, and now with Bramble Rose and Glow Up Bulb you go into Crystal Ring Rose Dragon, which gives you another draw. But since we really do like Bramble Rose Dragon, we activate Garden Rose Maiden's effect to reborn Bramble Rose Dragon onto the board again. Very importantly, if you have the combo that allows Black Garden to stay on the field, you have to summon everything in defense so that the opponent doesn't have the ability, if he thinks he's cheeky, to run into your monsters to basically clear their board again. You have protection, the opponent's board is filled with tokens, which against most of the decks currently is just an FTK in itself. You have an Omni Negate, Monster Negate, Burn and Board Wipe for only your opponent. I mean, your back row is also getting wiped, but just use your back row before that, and otherwise it doesn't really matter. You have protection, you have a lot of grind game in form of Crossroads and Roxor's Dragon. You have guaranteed grind game even after you use Bramble Rose Dragon with 6 cards in hand, and in your deck there are 15 hand traps, so the chances are very high that you draw like 1 or 2 of them, and if you draw Nip in combination with that board, the opponent can have any board breaker he likes, it doesn't really matter. And yes, you do have 6 cards in hand, but a funny thing you can do during the opponent's turn is, after you, for example, you used up all of your interruptions and you want to now say, no, your board is gone, put your cards into the graveyard now, you can activate Bramble Rose Dragon, go into Rose Dragon, and now Hyper Librarian will trigger again, since the Bramble Rose Synchro Summon is actually treated as a Synchro Summoning. So it's neat. It's basically a draw 3, which is insane. As you can see, my deck isn't randomized because I have a function on that allows me to modify my starting hand so I can show you the combos. Trust me, you will not draw like this if you play it in real life, like not at all. And yeah, so far it works very well. So this is the deck list and those 2 new combos, and I'm really digging the deck. I'm really liking that. It feels great, it feels insane to play. People do not know, and that is the most fun part about playing the deck. People do not know how to play against that, what your cards are even doing, so they are panicking a lot, especially with this guy. Bro, people do not read that card. And one other thing I wanted to mention is that this deck is surprisingly good into Charmy. I mean, yeah, you have Ash Blossom which can stop Fuwalos, but even if you can't stop Fuwalos, like, this deck is surprisingly good into that. I mean, you can basically give your opponent only 1 draw and go into a lot of burn damage and a board wipe, which is very good for only giving your opponent 1 draw. Do not forget, we play 15 hand traps, and the board wipe under Fuwalos also wipes your field, which means if you have your own Fuwalos, your opponent Fuwaloses you, you can say, no, Uno reverse, I will now Fuwalos you after I Rose Dragoned my own field too. So your Fuwalos compromise end board actually enables your own Fuwalos to be live during the opponent's turn. It's kinda neat. Now we play against Yummy, and he Fuwad me, which in my opinion, okay, was very, I was kinda shocked, bro. He uses Fuwalos and I thought to myself, fuck, what am I doing right now? But I thought to myself, okay, if I want to take the deck seriously, I will face a lot more of those situations, and I just played into it. Not only did he had Fuwalos, no, he also had Ghostbell for my Black Rose Garden, and against Yummy, Black Rose Garden is GG. They have so much problems outing that card, it's insane. Luckily I have the extender in hand, which means I can extend further. Since he activated Ghostbell, in my opinion it was fine to go in to give him another draw to go into Diabellstar, so my Rose Dragon is protected against cards like Impermanence. That was my reasoning behind that, but maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe it was just the play to go into Bramble Rose Dragon. I just wanted to play around the Imperm he could possibly have. Because keep in mind, that endbot alone is crazy, alright? It's very crazy. I do not need the top deck. A specific top deck, alright? It's fine if I draw any other card. That setup with any discard is game, like easily. So my objective right now is to survive, which I have 1 interruption, burn damage, attack reduction and a board wipe, Imperm, and Fuwalos in my hand, which is live. You will see that, alright? He uses Hornet drones, and I immediately stopped that because I want to basically cut him short on Link monsters so he can't special summon as many or as much Yummy monsters to the board as he wants, basically. That was my reasoning. Now he normal summons Cookie, and that doesn't really mean that much. I mean, previously it could have meant, okay, his hand is ass, but with the new Marshmallow Yummy, it can also mean that he just saves Marshmallow in hand for the moment after you have used all of your interruptions, so you have to keep that in mind playing against Yummy. He didn't use his Yummy Snatchy's summon effect, which could have meant a lot of things. First, he has it in hand, the field spell. Second, he wants to save it. But I immediately knew that both of those cases require me to use Impermanence. If I do not Imperm right here, right now, he can basically out my Bramble Rose Dragon, alright? And I do not want him to have the ability to do so. Now he activates Mignon and it was fine, and he activated Cookie, probably because he thought I would chain Bramble Rose. And if I chain Bramble Rose to anything, Black Rose Dragon will miss timing, keep that in mind, alright? Bramble Rose Dragon always has to be Chain Link 1. If it's not Chain Link 1, Black Rose Dragon will not wipe anything. I didn't fall for the bait, and after that I summon, of course, Black Rose Dragon, wiping the whole end board. And now, he could have Marshmallow, Yummy, Cupsy, Whoopsie, Starbucks, whatever. It's fine, I have Fuwalos. So the only thing that is really threatening for me right now is Ash Blossom. So he goes Marshmallow and I Fuwa, which then leads him to basically go into Typhon. I don't believe he had any other play even. He doesn't have any level 1 in hand, and Yummy Snatchy isn't a 1-cut combo anymore since he already used Mignon. So in my position is pretty great right now, and my top deck on top of that is insane. Keep in mind, I do not need that, alright? I do not need that. You will see that I top deck LZ, which is a bit weird, but it's fine. I will just use Wanted to go into Sylvia. It's completely fine, okay? Go Sylvia, then I go Wanted, draw. This could have been my top deck. I win anyways, alright? Look at this. Just having Bramble Rose and Black Knight in the graveyard is crazy. I use both of them to go into Rage Rose Witch. Vengeful Witch will trigger, giving us another Vengeful Witch onto the board. I have Garden Rose Maiden, which can just reborn any Rose Dragon monster. Rox Rose will grab Black Garden, and Black Garden can grab from the graveyard. And since we haven't normal summoned yet, alright? We haven't normal summoned yet. We can go into Bramble Rose and then summon the Glow Up Bulb again to go into Crystal Wing, because I wanted to have an out for Typhon, and then normal summon White Rose Dragon, alright? Special summoning back any Black Rose Dragon monster. It's crazy, bro. Keep in mind all of that just by having those cards in the graveyard. Very cool. This is not a replay or gameplay video, I just wanted to show you a few things the deck can do, because a lot of people underestimate the deck very heavily. Currently it's by far my favorite deck in the format. It kinda feels like the old Diabell days, where no one had a clue what Diabell even does, and just by that you straight up won some games. Just that Black Rose is a lot stronger than early Diabell, since the Azamina engine is just carrying very heavily. I'm also playing with the thought of bringing that deck maybe to locals, let's see. But until then, see ya.